Well, good evening, friends, and welcome to the Tuesday night nonfiction prepper book club. And so happy to see you all here. Um, I think Gil is actually still shutting down his Tuesday night discussion. So, really good discussion this evening about how you keep your food cool in a post apocalyptic world. So, I strongly encourage everybody to if you have the time, please go over and visit Gray Man Prepping prior to this event on Tuesday evening. So he does his at 7 p.m. Central. I do mine at 8 p.m. Central. And it's always worth seeing and participating in. Hello, Muskoka Oma. So this evening, we are working on chapter 2 of How to Survive the End of the World as We Know It, or TEOTWAWKI, and tactics, techniques, and technologies for an uncertain world. And gosh, it does look like we're going to need it. So interesting stuff. I forget the name of the caldera. There's a caldera. Basically, it is in the Gulf of Naples, and so it's right next to Vesuvius. Is actually a flue off of this caldera. Of course, everybody's familiar with Vesuvius. It's the one that took out. Oh gosh, come on, Pompeii, and probably about the turn of the millennium, 2,000 years ago. But there were two towns that were taken out by Vesuvius, and so it's just one of the chambers of this humongous volcano. They've been having some major eruptions as far as earthquakes here in the last 24 hours. So, as a matter of fact, they canceled class today in Venice, not Venice, in oh, come on. Anyhow, it's a large city. Golly. They canceled class because they were afraid that the uh, caldera might erupt. God, that's got me bothered. How can I forget the name of that? Maps. And then from maps, I'm going to go to Mount Vesuvius. And see if we can find it that way. It's kind of, gosh. Naples. There we go. Yay. So finally, my memory is well served by Google Maps. So anyhow, that Gulf of Naples there is the one that's basically a caldera. And so Vesuvius is just one of the offshoots of Vesuvius. And so, it's just, it's kind of exciting that, there's all kinds of things going on. If you watch Suspicious Observers, he's been doing a really good job of tying some of the sun's activities to Earth activities. So, there may be geomagnetic pulls and everything else as far as, when we have these sunspots and some of these major events happening from the sun, that's when we have some really weird Earth things happening at the same time. We've also had some activity in the New Madrid fault line here along the Mississippi River basin for the past 48 hours. So that's kind of strange. To the people in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, gosh, you guys are getting the brunt of this storm. Please stay safe. I mean, tornadoes, hail, rain. So I wish you the best, and please stay safe. Gene Sen, welcome. Good to see you. Okay, so let's check into this because we got 17 people online. So the link for this book, and this is a Pinnacle book. This is an old book. 2010, I believe, is the publication date. Let me check here. I finished reading it in 2013. So it's one of my older collection. 2009 was the first printing. But just a great book. I would also encourage you to check out his blog. He has a blog site that is just phenomenal, all kinds of great information. Probably, in my opinion, one of the better authorities around prepping that there are. He also has 3 fiction books. I remember one of them is Patriots, but I forget what the other two are. And but anyhow, just good fiction as well. So the nonfiction is superior, the fiction is excellent, and his website is above reproach. So let's talk about putting first things first. Get some good classes, CPR classes, American Red Cross, first aid. If you have a CERT organization, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, he doesn't specifically say that in here, but if you have one, join it. Get all kinds of free training. Search and rescue, first aid, fantastic training. Local community colleges, park districts, adult education classes. Some of these I've checked and they are no longer available, so I'm not going to mention all of them. FEMA and CERT. Oh, he does. Classes. The LDS Church has a lot of fantastic cannery classes. There is, you can get their LDS survival guide online for free. And I will provide a link for that in the show notes. I'll look for that and provide a link for it. You can download it. It's 480 some odd pages, I believe. You can download it for free. Then ARRL, which is the American Radio Relay League, has amateur radio classes. NRA, State Rifle and Pistol Associations offer training. Fiber guilds for spinning and weaving. Mountain Man and Rendezvous clubs, Black Powder clubs. Here I'm a member of the Dutch Oven Society, the Blue Bonnet Dutch Oven Society, which is a Central Texas Dutch oven group that gets together and shares recipes once a month. University and County Agricultural Extensions, which are phenomenal. Medical Corps no longer exists. I tried that one. That's one of them. It says they have small group classes. If you have volunteer fire departments, get involved with them and get their training. Candle, soap making clubs and conventions. Fantastic soap and candle making classes on YouTube. Look those up. Boy Scouts, 4-H, and things like that. So he recommends starting off with the list of lists. So we're not going to go down with the contents of each one of the lists, but what I want you to do is keep track of the major lists, and we might get into a little bit of detail on some of them, just so that you can, begin asking yourself questions on how do you put together an emergency book? How do you put together a preparedness book? How do you put together your survival book and compendium, so that you have answers prepared in advance, and that way you pretty much know what you're doing. But step one is to start with that list of lists, and we're going to do that this evening. The next one is to separate between your needs and your wants. Gosh, I really want an M1, M1A, which is the civilian version of the M14. I really, really want one. But because I just love the 308 7.62 by 51 caliber. It's a great gun. I want a semi-automatic, but when I look at it I have a Remington 700, which is a good, in that caliber, and that's a long-range weapon. Then I have a Ruger Gunsight Scout, which is a carbine, but it's a believe it or not, it's a magazine-fed bolt-action carbine, and that's in 308 7.62 51. And so, I've already got two rifles in 7.62 51 or 308. So why would I want another one? But gosh, and Triple G Farms, welcome, and Cats and Prepping, welcome. But Triple G Farms has been kind of enticing me. He has an M1 and M1A, and so he just loves it. And every time I think of that, I just separate your needs from your wants. I want it, but I don't need it. Okay. I've got more than I can handle right now. So, that would be a nice to have, but not an essential. So what you want to do is, because we're getting so close to SHTF, don't focus on your wants, focus on your needs. You've got to prioritize where you're putting your money. And so prioritize those your needs. I'll give you a good example. Helen was involved in a real bad car wreck. She was T-boned, maybe 5 years ago. And so it severed her arm in 3 places. And one of those places up here, this little bone right here where the ulna connects, is still not healed. Okay. And she had 7 fractures to her pelvis and The seat belt did a job on her bicep as well as her left breast, and just horrendous physical destruction as a result of that being T-boned. And of course, traumatic brain injury and concussion and fracture, skull fracture, and so she can no longer, with this arm the way it is, she can no longer rack a semi-automatic. So I had to get her a revolver, and so making sure that you've got a revolver with stopping power, but yet one that she can handle pretty much single-handedly is going to be critical. So you've got to start thinking about, I would really want for her to have a semi-auto where she has more rounds. But as I start looking at it and I start looking at how much ammo do I need for her, she really probably will not be handling a weapon that frequently. And so maybe one good weapon with one box or two boxes of ammunition, just enough to where she can stay proficient with it, and then maybe a couple speed loaders, and we'll be good. So what is it that I want? I want a couple thousand rounds, right? In reality, I can't afford that. But what I need is for her to be well trained and have a sufficient amount of ammunition to maintain her knowledge and skill with the weapon. At the same time, be able to spend that money on other things that may be more important to our overall survival than that. So, the first one he has is his water list. And, so he starts talking about check out your home downspouts. Can you put in a water reclamation system as far as, getting the water from your roof during a rainfall and putting those into a rain catchment system. Start thinking about, when you get that water, these are the things to put under that overall list of rainfall. How am I going to collect the water? Once I collect the water, how am I going to purify the water? So how long is this going to last? How many filters am I going to need? How am I going to purify this water? Okay, now that I've got that done, how am I going to store the purified water? Another thing you have to think of, if you're going to use a gravity system like a PureWell system or a Berkey or something like that, how long does it take for 2.5, or most tanks are either 2.5 or 3 gallons? How long is it going to take for that to go through, for 3 gallons to go through into the lower tank so that I have 3 gallons of water? So how do I plan this out so that I'm maximizing my water purification? Maybe one of the ways is every night before you go to bed, take your dirty water, put it into your gravity system, so that when you wake up first thing in the morning, you've got for sure 3 gallons, 2.5, 3 gallons of purified water. So that's one of the ways. Then how are you going to store it? If you can't get a rain catchment system and you're going to have to transport it, how are you going to transport it? One of the mistakes I made, for example, is buying the big Reliant 5-gallon jugs, and then planning on storing those, sideways and up on a shelf. You know what? 5 gallons of water is 40 pounds, not counting the container itself. I'm 72. Okay. I'm partially disabled. I'm not going to take 40 pounds and lift it up over my head. I can guarantee you that. I mean, these old triceps, look at them. Look how flabby they're getting. Golly. And so I don't have that muscle mass that I used to have when I was younger. So I have to go with the 3-gallon water bricks and then stack those 5 high. Now, 3 gallons is only 24 pounds. So I can handle that with a little bit better ease. So start thinking about, how am I going to store this water once I have it purified so that I can access it and use it? When we had our area training this last weekend at David's house, he showed us that he has the 5-gallon jugs, and then he showed us a pressure nozzle that he has on his 5-gallon jugs, where you just push down on it. And of course, that forces air down inside the jug, and then it creates an overpressure situation. And so then that forces the water up through a spigot tube. And I thought, wow, that's great. I've got a couple of those bottles, 2 or 3 of those bottles. And so I probably need to get one of those so I don't have to worry about tipping it over or pouring it or anything else. What a great idea. Start thinking those things through. How are you going to, number 1, collect? Number 2, purify. Number 3, store your water. And that's going to be important to you. The next one he recommends is a personal list. Things like your glasses, if you wear glasses. And so I have these readers. We have extra readers all over the house. I am now getting to the point to where I need to have glasses again, especially for distance vision. And so make sure you have extras of those. Other personal items that you may need. If you wear dentures, make sure you have plenty of denture cream. Make sure you have plenty of denture cleaner. Make sure you have plenty of toothpaste and all that kind of stuff. The stuff you're going to need for your personal satisfaction, your personal needs. Make sure you get for your fitness. Make sure you're up to date with your dentist. Make sure you're up to date with your physical and everything else. What I watched a fantastic hour-long video this morning, about 4:00 this morning, from Canadian Prepper, and he had a physician on, and they were talking about how deadly in a post-apocalyptic world a simple thing like a small scratch that tetanus gets into is going to be. If you have your tetanus booster up to date, and that's one of my least favorite shots is tetanus. It burns like all get out as far as I'm concerned. But I've got to make sure I'm up to date on my tetanus shots. So that reminded me, go in and make sure I have an update booster on my tetanus, because that thing, once it gets into your body, if you haven't controlled it, you're going to need IV fluids. It's not going to be just oral medications like you get with, Chase or contingency, right there, contingency medical or with Chase. So, those oral antibiotics aren't going to take care of tetanus. So make sure you have your tetanus booster up to date. Get in shape. Helen and I go to Silver Sneakers, which is a senior fitness program, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, that's 1 solid hour of working with weights, working with resistance bands, and stability and exercises and stuff like that, push-ups and sit-ups and planks, and then we do a seated basically core exercise where you lift your feet off the floor and your back can't touch the chair. Then you hold that position until your gut hurts, so you can keep your core into a position and things like that. So just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Do what you can. Don't do more than you can, and whatever you do, don't do anything that's going to make you worse than what you already are. First aid, minor surgery list. Put a strong emphasis on, and he says this, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. The number one thing that we see in camping accidents are burns. Okay. And I believe that's going to be the same thing in a post-apocalyptic world. People don't know how to cook on fire. People won't know how to handle fire. So you're going to make sure you need to make sure that, number one, you're going to have plenty of burn first aid equipment, non-stick pads, sterile hydration so that you can keep the wound hydrated, so you can keep the person hydrated. So you're going to need all kinds of things like that. The second most common camping accident is going to be a broken bone, and then the third one's going to be a laceration, usually from chopping with a hatchet or an axe, or cutting with a knife and not using good safety with those things. So you buy a full minor surgery kit. Now, not because we want you to use it, but because you may luck upon somebody who knows how to use it, and it would be important for you to have that so that they could use it. Let me get rid of all these announcements over here. And everybody's wanting to talk about the fact that Klaus Schwab resigned. So let me catch up with the chat here real quick. Let's see where we are. Muskoka Oma hasn't been able to find the book in the library. You know where you might try if you have a dollar bookstore, Muskoka Oma? Try the dollar bookstores or the book exchanges, we have a big chain here in Central Texas called Half Price Books, and they know me by name, I'm sure. Utah Mike says that West, it's water. We're still in severe, even though we've had flooding conditions for the last 2 weeks, we're still in severe drought. Lake Travis, which feeds the water for Austin, is down 51 feet from normal. So the Highland Lakes are down quite a bit. Yeah, and here in our HOA, we're only allowed to have asphalt shingle roofs. So that's going to be very critical. You take that into consideration for your rain catchment system is how are you going to get rid of, bird fecal matter as well as the tar and other petroleum-based products that are going to be in that drinking water if you're going to catch it from your rain catchment system. Um, let me see. Let me see. Tarp spread out on the lawn? Absolutely. You can also use a tarp and then elevate it at the four corners and then weight it in the center. And what happens is it'll collect the dew on the bottom. Then you want to put some sort of a catchment device, a bowl, a bottle, or something underneath where that apex is, because the water will drip down as it collects the morning dew and go into that bottle. We used to do that in the Boy Scouts. Aha, look at that. So Gil's telling us 8.34 pounds per gallon, and I was thinking 8. So that's great. Um, Little Lone Prepper can't handle 5 gallon cans either. Um, okay, let me see. So Shenanigans says she lies and says she's current with her tetanus shot. It's so painful to have them. I know I'm stupid for not getting one. Yeah, I agree. It's not one of those pleasant shots. It's not as bad as yellow fever, I can tell you that. But it's one of those. I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and go get one and just make sure that I'm as up to date as possible. I'm not going to get all the shots I had when I was on active duty. I can tell you that much. Yellow fever and malaria and oh god, we had a. And the bad thing was every year when we deployed, when we did an emergency response, they'd march us through the field house and you just held your sleeves up on each side. And then a medic would slap each arm with a towel that was soaked in alcohol. And then they had these guns. So you got 6 guns on each arm and pew, 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 as you walk through. And then they had another medic down at the end with the suture kit so that he could sew it up in case you moved while they were shooting, because it would put a nice little slit in your arm. But anyhow. Let me see here. Read somewhere that tetanus shot lasts a lot longer than they say. That's probably true. I don't want to take any chances, though. It's going to be worth the pain to make sure I'm up to date, because I just, at my age and having to take 81 milligram aspirin on a daily basis, my skin is just so thin. I mean, this is where my dog loved me. So all she did was paw me, and her claws got through my skin. So I have to be extremely cautious because I have extremely thin skin at my old age. Uh, Another good one, and I had to have it when I was spelunking, cave exploring, was we had the pre-exposure shots for rabies. So it was a series of 3 shots. And then if you did come into contact with rabies, then it was only 3 shots afterwards instead of the 14-shot regimen. So you could build up a slight immunity to it with the 3 pre-exposure shots, and then you had 3 shots afterwards instead of the 14. I figured that, and all 6 of these shots were in the arm, none of them in the stomach. So I thought that was a good deal. Now they are a little bit like the tetanus shot. They are not that's not something you want to pay to have done to you on a regular basis. How's that? Chum Dash Farm, welcome. Good to see you. That's a new name. Welcome, welcome. We've got a fantastic group of people here, so feel free to chat with them. And just we're almost a family. Just great people, and hope you like us and you'll stick around and add value, because sometimes the comments in the chat are far more valuable than what I'm saying. So make sure you're paying attention to this to the chat as well. Really? Wow. I get 3 allergy shots once a month. I usually do that. As a matter of fact, it's the day that we do the fiction book club. The last Thursday of the month is when I get my allergy shots in the morning, and then in the afternoon we have our fiction book club. And so, by the way, our fiction book club, which will be a week from day after tomorrow. So in about 9 days, we're doing 299 days to preparation. And it's been endorsed by Jack Spurko, another one of those names you just need to know in the preparedness field. I mean, Jack is just a wealth of knowledge like you would not believe. So I strongly recommend you follow him on his YouTube channel as well. Churn Dash Farm, welcome. Good to see you. Let me see here. And Holly is saying, hello, Tommy Harder. I didn't see that name, but hello. Well, there he is. Hello, Tommy Harder. Welcome and glad to see you as well. Thank you for joining us. Let me see. Yeah, it's an interesting question. How did they treat it? And hope everything went well. Okay, so back to the book. Thank you all. Great comments in the chat. Kim Nuke defense list, a dosimeter. So let me show you do I still have it here? Or did I put it back in my go bag? I had it out because I was working with it, but I may have no, there it is. Okay. So and I keep it in here with my Geiger counter, but this is a dosimeter here. Okay. So this is nothing more than a card. So you're going to keep this card on your body or with your dosimeter. This keeps total exposed radiation. Okay. So this is going to measure how much radiation is currently out there, okay, that you're being exposed to. But remember, radiation does not necessarily die off very quickly. So you want to be able to measure how much have I totally been exposed to, and that's where this comes in. So you want one of these cards for every member of your family, so that you know who is safe and who is not safe, and who can do certain things and can't do certain things and be exposed or not be exposed, who you need to protect even further. So that's what a dosimeter is. It's just how much dosage have you received, okay? And the reason I was working on my go bag, or my get home bag actually, is because I pulled my Shema out and it's on the other side of the video screen here, because my next prepper tip is going to be on cotton bandana, which is another one of the 10 C's of Dave Canterbury. And so I wanted to pull my Shema out of my get home bag so I could show that to you. And I keep my I keep one radiation detector in my everyday carry bag, and then I keep another one in my get home bag. So Radiac meter, we've got, that's the handheld Geiger counter. I showed that. Rolls of sheet plastic, duct tape, HEPA filters, potassium iodate, KiO3. You can also use potassium iodide, KiO, and outdoor shower rig. Now, the outdoor shower rig is going to be important. Go back and check. I have a video on making your own PPE, which is basically your personal protective equipment. A cheap poncho, a $1 disposable poncho. Okay. All you want to do, you're going to get exposure to radiation no matter what you do. What you want to do is you want to keep the fallout from embedding either in your hair or anything where you don't breathe it in or anything else, and you don't get it inside your body. And you're going to wash it off at that outdoor shower before you come into the house. But if you can put a cheapo plastic poncho over your outer garments, and you can get some painter's booties and have those on so that you're not getting the dust and everything into your shoes, gloves, goggles, some good fitting goggles, and at least an N95 mask. I have a Mira Safety protective mask. And then you also want to pull that hood of your poncho down. And I keep the cotton bandana in my in that kit so that I can tie kind of like a headband, so that I can tie that down very tight as far as the hood on the poncho, and that way nothing's going to get in. And so I have very little exposed skin that can actually collect the radioactive dust. Then I do have 2 outdoor shower systems. The first one is just a gravity system for camping. The bad thing about that is it's going to be subject to the temperature of whatever the outside ambient temperature is going to be the temperature of the water, pretty much that you're going to be showering with, you're going to be washing off with. The other one is a battery operated pump system. So you can have a 5-gallon bucket of water and then heat that up and pour hot water into it. And this battery operated shower system is going to suck that up, and then you can use that. So that's going to be on my back porch. My back porch, I have it set up so that I can put some tarp along the two exposed sides. And that way I've got a sealed off area. I can go in, dispose of all of my contaminated clothing, put it into a 35-gallon trash can, plastic trash can. And that's going to be outside of that area. I'll just throw it out there. Then I take my shower and then come on inside, dry off and everything. Then I'm clean and I'm not bringing any radioactive dust or any contaminant or fallout into the home when I come in. So start thinking those things through as well. That's another one of these great lists that you can look at from here. Let me see. I need to keep up. I need to mark the last one. I think Half Price Books has a website. Yes, they do. And I've gotten some fantastic things off of them. So Caitlin is probably talking about the potassium iodide as well as I got this GQ one on Amazon, as a matter of fact. Both of my Geiger counters I've gotten on Amazon. And I'll put a link for both of those. I probably won't do it tonight. I'll probably do it first thing in the morning. But if you come back and see, I'll put those as well as KIO, as well as the dosimeter links in the show notes for this. And I'll also put a link in where I designed that PPE system, and I keep one of those in a quart Ziploc bag in each seat of both the pickup and the car, so that there are 4 in the car, 4 in the pickup, and that way, if anybody's riding with me, they have a PPE as well. So I have a total of 8 of those. Okay, so pandemic defense list, disinfectants, hand sanitizer. Let me tell you, I still had my store when we first came down with the lockdowns. Trying to get a hold of hand sanitizer was impossible. Make sure you're storing hand sanitizer now. The 3 things we could not find. And when I could find them, they were just atrocious as far as cost. Hand sanitizer, N95 masks, or even the basic surgical masks, and nitrile gloves. You could not find those 3 things for probably 6 months after the pandemic first started. So don't wait until it starts to go out looking for those things. Get those things and stock them now. And I was surprised at how much we used them and how much of our supply we went through during that time as well. So you're going to go through a lot. So make sure you have plenty. Steam vaporizers, expectorants, antibiotics, antivirals. And those lists are both Jace and contingency links are listed in the show notes down below. Gardening list. What are you going to need for gardening? If you haven't started gardening, it may be too late. I've been doing it for 5 years. I still don't know anything about it. I mean, I'm a plant killer, not a plant grower. And we did enjoy 1 tomato out of our batch. I've got to go out tomorrow. My potatoes, all the stuff above the ground is now died off, so I got to go dig up my potatoes tomorrow. But I am learning about gardening on a regular basis, and I've been doing it for a while. It's not something you're going to pick up overnight. There's no book that's going to say this is how you do it and you're going to be guaranteed success. Everything is different. So something you've got to start doing now. Make sure you have a good garden list. Hygiene and sanitation list. I would recommend keep track of how many rolls of toilet paper you go through in your family in 1 week. And then multiply that times 104, which is 2 years, or 104 weeks. And then that's what you're going to need to keep in stockpile in your home. Do the same thing for paper towels. How much soap do you use, and how frequently do you replace it? Make sure you have a 2-year supply of that as well. Feminine hygiene products and how much you're going to need of those. Floss, shampoo. Now, Remember that we got to go back to that first thing he told us to think about, and that was water. So water is going to be in critical short supply. So if you're going to be critical short supply of water, you're not going to be using a whole bunch of shampoo and soap. So what I'm doing, and you notice it in my pantry hauls, once a month, I get a bottle of no rinse required shampoo and a bottle of no rinse required soap. Basically, it's pads that they use in the hospital to wipe yourself down with. So every month I get those on a standard monthly delivery from Amazon, because I'm trying to build that up over time. It's not something I want to get all at one time, but think about those things. How are you going to maintain sanitation in an environment where you don't have the water and the convenience to take a 15-minute hot shower like you do now? All right. So he did survive. He was in ICU for a while on IV antibiotics. There we go. Yes, it is a lot like rabies, and that's what this doctor was saying today. Is there are no oral antibiotics or anything else. It is going to be dependent upon IV antibiotics, and they are not maintained at every hospital. That has to be maintained at a level 1 trauma center, and so normally there's only one of those in a large metropolitan area. And I'm not sure what Myrna is, Little Lone Prepper, but thank you for mentioning that. Those are the shots I think they give when you first start school. I don't remember. Help us with that. Kaylin says she has a few chamois. One has gone camping with me quite a few times. Yeah, mine do too. I think that's one of the better pieces of equipment that we picked up in the military from our experiences in the Middle East. So Shenanigans takes shots for cholesterol. Okay. Myrna, is that the same as MRSA, multi-resistant staph infection? I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So the hang bag camp shower is what that's one of the two that I have. 9 months to a year, have an outdoor shower won't be fun. That's right. Dosimeters are also on Amazon. That's correct. The Tacta site may have dosimeters and such too. Yes, Tacta might. As a matter of fact, I had to renew my subscription to the Tacta Journal today. I got an email from them that had expired, and so and I usually do it in 2-year increments. But anyhow. And that's the American Civil Defense Association, for those of you who don't know, tacta.org. And they have some fantastic webinars that you can go to. So, and as a matter of fact, it used to be the Provident Prepper, Kylene and Jonathan, they used to be on the board of directors for Tacta. So I mean, they've got some really high quality people. I've shown you when I get my Tacta magazine in. It comes in every 3 months. But I show that when I get it in my prepper pantry hauls, and it's definitely something not only worth having but keeping on file. I ordered 2 in addition from back issues, one on sanitation and one on water, because that's the presentation I'm giving at our monthly meeting for our group next month, the 15th of June. And if you'd like to join us, we're going to be at the San Gabriel Park up in Georgetown, which is the county seat. We'll be right on the banks of the San Gabriel River. And so we're going to be able to do a little bit of water collection, water purification, and water storage. We'll talk about that and show that, and we'll do some show and tell. And then we'll have lunch. Everybody's encouraged to bring your own, cook your favorite preparedness meal, long-term, whatever. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I may do something like a Hoover stew. We'll see. But everybody's encouraged to kind of, cook a survivor type meal there, and we will have a grill and everything available to us. And then after that, then I'm going to talk about, now that we've got all this food and water in us, how do we safely get rid of all of that in a post-apocalyptic world? So what are we going to do as far as human waste disposal? So that's going to be starting at 2:00 in the afternoon on the 15th of June, Saturday the 15th of June. I believe that's the 3rd Saturday of the month. It is the 3rd Saturday of the month, that's for sure. I think it's the 15th. I should put it that way. Let me see where we are. Okay. Yes, N95 masks will do fantastic. Yes, they have gotten very expensive. Uh, oh, you are so lucky, Holly. I'm envious. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, and Gil points out that gardening is different year by year because different insects, different diseases, the different amount of sun, the different amount of rainfall. I mean, there's so many things that affect it on a year-to-year basis, and you have to be ready to adapt. When I say you need a journal, you definitely need a journal on your gardening. So you can keep notes on, hey, this is what happened to my plants. This is what I did. So that next time it happens, you will know whether to do that again or not to do that again. For example, this rot that I had on my tomatoes, they said to order this special spray because they needed calcium. And so I sprayed the plants like the instructions said. It killed most of the leaves. And so now I've got to, what am I going to do with it? Do I clip off those old leaves and encourage the juices inside the plant to go towards producing new leaves? I don't know. So I've got to go talk to Mark. He owns our local, what do you call it? Where you buy and sell flowers and all that kinds of stuff. We kept log of what we needed as far as paper towels and toilet paper for the two of us. And so I have a 2-year supply out in the garage, and that takes up one full wall of the garage. I can guarantee you that. Now, the next question becomes one of, so this is this list of lifts that he's talking about. Once you say that, and then you say, okay, now I've got a whole wall full of toilet paper. Once I use it, how do I get rid of it? Okay. So you got to think that whole process through. Right now, we flush it down the toilet. Well, we're not going to be able to flush it down the toilet in a TEOTWAWKI type of environment. So what are we going to do with it? That's going to be probably either in your composting toilet. Although if you have a composting toilet, you're going to need a special type of toilet paper that'll help with the composting. Normal toilet paper won't. So if you're going to use the normal toilet paper, you're going to have, let's say, one container for solids and one container for liquids. Then you probably are going to have that. The majority of the toilet paper might be with the solids. And then I realize that there is a gender difference and that toilet paper is also used with the liquids. And so if that's the case, then you might dispose of those separately rather than in the tub where you're collecting the urine. You're going to dispose of it in a separate collector. That way you can burn it. So, we've got to start thinking these things through. How do we dispose of the stuff we're using as we use it? Because we're going to have, when I look at all the junk that I have, and by junk, I mean cans and packaging and Mylar bags and Seal-A-Meal bags and everything else. When I started looking at the amount of trash that I'm going to be producing in a post-apocalyptic world, how am I going to get rid of it? That's another one of those critical questions you've got to ask yourself and come up with some good solutions on as we're talking through this. Let me see here. There are some dry shampoos available. Yes, and that's what I get from. And if you would like, I can give you the one that I buy off of Amazon, and I have it on that subscription service where I get one every month. Yeah, and not only not to use so much toilet paper, but also not to use so much water. Get in a habit. Now's the time to start practicing. Can you get in the shower, turn on the water, get wet, turn the water off, soap yourself down, turn the water back on, rinse off, turn the water off, and dry off? Can you save that much water? And so, that's what it's going to take in a future environment. And so we got to start changing and modifying some of our habits now so that we're used to it when we get into that post-apocalyptic type of environment. Great suggestions. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, if you aren't practicing with your equipment, then that shame on you. Absolutely. Okay, so Caitlin says it's a type of vaccine. Thank you. Oh, okay. No. Oh, wow. And that was a great channel too. Uh, so I'm cert. I'm not him. I should have probably gotten it years ago. I was signals intelligence, so I did a lot of signals and intercept. And you would think that somebody who as a profession listened to ham radio type equipment would have a license, but I still don't have it. So I'm hoping I can take that license test this coming Saturday, or not this Saturday, but the last Saturday of the month. Messenger RNA. Okay, thank you. See, you guys are so great for educating me. Thank you so much. Uh, so I'm just quiet while I'm trying to. Nursery, thank you, Kaylin. Yes, see what I mean? You guys keep me straight. Nursery, the place where they sell flowers and plants and veggies and fruits and all that kinds of stuff. So, yeah, so the word I was looking for was nursery. Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to encourage everybody to keep track of it. Same thing with toothpaste. So 1 year I kept track of everything we use: coffee, toothpaste, soap, uh, dishwashing soap, laundry detergent, toilet paper, paper towels. I mean, I just kept a log, basically my journal, just like this, where I keep my notes on everything I do on a daily basis, and I just kept notes. And so that I could keep track of how much of everything I needed so that I could accurately predict what I'm going to be using in a post-apocalyptic world. Now, with toilet paper, I added a fudge factor of 25%. And the reason I did that is because there's a high probability that we may have some low-level cases of diarrhea. And so you're going to use up a little bit more if that's the case. So I added 25% to it to cover in case we do have some low-level diarrhea cases. I use the SAMS TP. So I've probably got 12 of those big plastic. I think it's 42 rolls per plastic container or whatever. We got, let me see, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, we got 14 of those. We've got smoke here like you would not believe coming up from Mexico. And my COPD and smoke don't get along. I can guarantee you that much. You can still use your septic system, cats and prepping. And for you, you're going to use that special type of toilet paper. Most of us who live in an urban or suburban area don't have septic systems. We're going to be using we use the sewage system that's provided to us in the communities in which we live, and those sewage systems won't be available to us. So we're going to have to create basically an artificial septic system, and that may be a composting system or it may be an outhouse. We don't know. That's something else you've got to kind of think ahead of time. So if you have a septic system, you're pretty much ahead of the game. Except they recommend that septic systems be cleaned every 5 years and cleaned out and taken care of and maintained and everything else. You may not have that availability to you. So you may have to figure out how you're going to do the maintenance on your septic system without having a maintenance person available to do that for you. Okay. Okay. So just go take the test. The technician class is super easy. Yeah, and where I'm stuck on this one module because I didn't do as well on the schematic symbols as I wanted to do, so I've got to go back and redo that. But yeah, and I would like to get the general, so I'm going to do both tests on the last Saturday of the month, technician and then the general. If I pass the technician, I should. On the dummy test, the practice test, I'm getting in the low 90s. So I think I should be doing okay. Yes. Now, the reason I'm recommending that you do the solar system, I'm sorry, the shower outdoors initially is have it set up in case you have to wash off any um, radioactive fallout. Okay. If you have it inside the house in your shower, then you're going to carry that fallout in with you and contaminate the inside of your home. And I would prefer not to do that. So all of my shower equipment right now is on the back porch. And that way, when I get home, I can set up my own decontamination system and take care of that in the backyard instead of inside the house. Now, if there is no nuclear fallout, then I can easily move all of that stuff inside the house and set up inside the house. But I'm keeping it outside to start with, so I don't have to come in and get it and take it back out. That would, bring in more radioactive fallout into the house. No, there was no pun intended. Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Devil Dog. Let me see. So, Kirkland toilet paper. I tell you what, there's nothing better than Kirkland sangria. God, I love it, and I love the Kirkland coffee. So, we have memberships to both Sam's and Costco. As a matter of fact, there's one place in down on Highway 183, and I believe it's 183 in Duval. It might be Breaker or Burnett. No, it might be Breaker. There's one intersection in Austin where there's basically a Costco and a Sam's across the street from each other, and so they compete with each other pretty well. So you can hit both of them, just not even have to move your car. But up in Georgetown is the Costco, and here in Round Rock is the Sam's Club. So we've got them both, and then Pflugerville has a Costco. So we have them pretty much around us, surrounding us. James Carroll, hello, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Okay. We have been getting the Kirkland brand toilet paper brought in to your mosque. Some members are Costco members. Okay. And oh, wow, that's great. What a great idea. As a matter of fact, I think I just put it out today, was the canvas needle. I'm going through the 10 C's of David Canterbury's 10 C's of survival for bushcraft survival. And so today we did canvas needles. And part of that discussion, I kind of extrapolated on that a little bit, and that includes sewing materials. So buttons and thread and extra needles and all those kinds of stuff. So so we're in sync there. And the one part I didn't mention is the part that you're mentioning here, and that is make sure you have plenty of patch material available to you. And then, of course, we can extrapolate that. Even if that can be made into a good half-hour video, you can also make sure you go get shoe goo so that you can put that at the bottom of your shoes once you start wearing, holes in the bottoms of your leather shoes or anything like that. So there's all kinds of great things we can do as far as maintaining the repairs of our clothing and leather and canvas issues. It can. You're absolutely right. Although typically we're going to use some sort of chemical with the decontamination system to counter the chemicals of the chemical or biological agent that we're using. So, and we won't have those available to us here. Plus, I don't have a kit. I was an NBC officer, a nuclear, biological, and chemical officer in the Army. And that was one of my extra duties, was making sure that I had the NBC NCOs and teams trained in nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, identifying the agents or that were active, and then what we were going to do as far as treating those. And so for example, making sure that the atropine injectors that we had to counter nerve agents were up to date and things like that. But we won't have those. Uh, oh, wow. Baofeng went out of business today, supposedly. Wow. So I would say that get what you can off of Amazon while you can. I know that they have a fairly decent GMRS of the UV5G, or is it the 8G? UV8G? Anyhow, look for the G in the Baofeng, and that's the GMRS. And so those are preset channels, and they're simplex. So you talk and receive on the same channel, unlike the UHF VHF ham, which has an offset because you're transmitting and receiving on different frequencies, what's called duplex mode. But if you can find the Baofeng GMRS on Amazon, it's not going to be that expensive, $20, $30. Get one if they're out of business, because that's going to be very, very useful to you, I believe, in the future. Um, I've heard of BJ's. I have not been in one. We don't have any down here. But yes, I've heard that. My daughter talked about those up in New Jersey. Uh, Absolutely. Great going. A seamstress would be a fantastic post-apocalyptic skill that you could market extremely well. I think that would be very, very valuable. Um, I'll have to go check that out. I didn't see it, but yeah, I had as a matter of fact, he was best man at our wedding. But my battalion commander, when I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base, uh, was a marathoner, and he went through tubes of shoe goo like you would not believe. Um, Flannel makes great diapers. There's another thing that you got to take into consideration. Do you have children? Do you have babies? Growing out of clothing, the next size larger, and diapers and all that kinds of stuff. Once you have diapers, you got diaper bag, diaper disposals. How are you going to dispose of all those diapers? Uh, maybe when they dry out, that cotton will burn. Although the plastic, that's going to have some terrible odor that could be carcinogenic. I don't know, when you burn it, but start thinking about those types of issues. How are you going to dispose of some of the stuff that you're using? Uh, so if you have the UV, let me see, where am I? Yeah, Kaylin. If you have the UV5, uh, or you basically have to program those. So you got to program in the frequency that you want to monitor, and that's basically going to be the frequency of the repeater in your area. You can get that from your local ham club, and they're usually going to be listed. They'll have a website. So look for a ham club or ARRL, Amateur Radio Relay League, in my area, in my location, and they usually have at least one, if not two or three different repeaters. And it's going to give you two things. It's going to give you the primary frequency, and it's going to give you the offset. And so those are the two things you want to plug into your UV5R, and that's going to enable you to speak to other people who are using that same repeater. So that's going to be very, very important to you. I would say get with somebody in the area, and they can help you with that. What a great idea. What a great idea, Holly. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, yeah, we have a treadle sewing machine that was my wife's grandmother's, and she brought it to Texas on a Conestoga wagon. Okay, so it's already programmed. That's great. Okay, so now the next one's going to be your livestock list. So, things to take care of: horses, your cattle, chicken, goats, all these different kinds of things, food, understanding, get some books on identifying illnesses. What are some of the things you're going to have as far as medications, all that kinds of stuff. Then hunting, fishing, and trapping lists. So a couple of the ones, and I never thought of this. Don't go hunting. and this is highlighted from, 14 years ago, but it says, don't go hunting. And I forgot. It says, that would be a waste of effort. Instead, have the game come to you. Get salt blocks and paste them out in your yard so that the livestock, the wild animals you want to feed are coming to you instead of you going to them. Same thing with a corn dispenser, or to attract birds, migratory birds, or to attract wild animals, whatever the case is. Sow your fly fishing gear, and buy practical spin casting equipment. And I did a video on that as well. The spin casting is the most common form of fishing gear. That's the one that has an open face, and it has what's that called? Anyhow, it's open face. You do it backhanded, basically. So you're going to use, if you're dominant in your right hand, which I am, then you use your right hand to do your casting, and then you do your left hand to do your reeling. With a bait caster and with a spin cast, which is the closed face, both of those you're doing all of your casting and controlling with your right hand. And then after you've spun it out there, then you transfer the rod to your left hand and you do all your cranking and reeling with your right hand. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's good. It's the most. Thank you, Kaylin. Look at you guys, man. Bail, thank you. Close the bail, thank you. As a matter of fact, the professional, I ran into him this morning at our men's breakfast, David, but he came by this morning and he's the one who taught me how to use a bait caster. So he's a professional, a competitive bass fisherman. There we go. Okay, we'll cover one more and then we'll leave the rest. No, we won't cover any more. It's 9:00. So I'm going to mark off here that we've gone through hunting, fishing, trapping. We still have power, lighting, batteries, fuels, firefighting, tactical living, security, communications, tools, sundries, barter, charity list, survival book list. And we still have a whole bunch more lists to go through. So we'll save those for next week. We'll continue on with this list of lists. And I hope you got something out of this evening, got some ideas on some of the topics that you need to start thinking about and writing down some detailed plans about. Really? Wow. I did not know that they existed. So thank you for that. I have never been fly fishing, so they would waste their money sending me anything to test like that because I wouldn't know how to use it. Although the guy where I bought my gold and silver in Round Rock, right next doors to him, there was a big fly fishing company, and he got so big that he didn't lease that space anymore. They built their own building, and he now makes his own equipment in that building too. But the one thing I liked about them was I was in buying silver one morning on a Saturday morning, and they had one of the local rangers come in and gave a discussion about all the poisonous snakes here in Central Texas, and I got to go through all of the stuff. There it was great. Can I pass your email to Maggie, please? Yes, I sure can, Muskoka Oma. Make sure you send it to me, and that's Cold War Prepper at outlook.com. So if you'll send it to me, I will forward that to Maggie, no problem. Let me see here. Thank you, Little Lone Prepper. I appreciate that. And so yes, Ms. Kokoma, I will definitely do that. Just make sure you send me yours so that I can forward it to her. And she and I communicate probably on a daily basis. There are a couple of you with whom I have very frequent contact. I love going up to see Triple G Farms. He's about an hour away. And what a fantastic guy he is. So that's going to be it for tonight. We'll pick up next week, same place. And so Monday, we're going to be working on American government. Tuesday, we'll have the rest of chapter 2 of this book. And then Thursday, we'll be working on 299 days of preparation. So the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Keep your heads up. Something's amiss. Strange things going on. I'm not sure. It sure does look like we're going to have problems, and we may be needing these skills a lot sooner than we originally anticipated, definitely before the end of summer. So make sure that you are getting as much knowledge, you're getting as many good friends in with you, because it's going to take a team to survive. We can't do it by ourselves. And pick up the knowledge that you can, the equipment that you need. Practice with the equipment that you get. Equipment, if you haven't used it and you have to figure it out in an emergency situation, is no good to you. Figure out how to use it ahead of time, especially, like things like these have to be reprogrammed. These have to be programmed ahead of time, as do your ham, UVH, UHF, VHF transceivers. Those have to be programmed ahead of time. So a lot of this stuff, if you don't take it out of the box and figure out how to use it ahead of time, it's not going to be any good to you after time. So remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Thank you, Diana, too. I hope so as well. Yes, Mother Earth, I love fishing. I love fishing. And it's just so relaxing. But I have a feeling in a post-apocalyptic world, I won't be able to do the type of fishing that I like. It's going to mostly be yo-yos, or it's going to be trot lines, or it's going to be traps or nets. And that's just the way it is. But and we can talk about that too, because maybe sometime later on, I will set up something out at the San Gabriel when we have another one of our monthly meetings, and I'll give a display on trot lines and things like that, jug fishing, yo-yos, all that different kinds of stuff on what you can do, because bait casting in a post-apocalyptic world, you're not going to have time for it. You're just going to be a target. So remember, we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please, please. And I know you do such a wonderful job here. I hope those of you who joined us for the first time will consider subscribing to us and joining us on a regular basis. You see what fantastic people we have in the chat, and how supportive they are, and how considerate they are. So, remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Take care. Bye-bye.